understand the anger that led to this horrible event. I hope to bring justice to the family of the deceased and to shed new light on this situation.
Thank you, Athena. Aries, you have the floor.
Good evening, distinguished Judge Zeus, the panel, and the opposition. It is a pleasure to be here. Today, you will be hearing the great slander against my client Apollo, a young, kind, and honest god of oracles, healing, knowledge, and protection of the youth. This is a man of the kind disposition and exceptional skill. To put this man on trial for murder should be a crime in itself, and today I intend to show his true feelings and who is actually innocent in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Aries. I would now like to hear from the defendant. Apollo, introduce yourself.
Good evening, Honorable Judge Zeus and the jury. I'm Apollo. I protect the young. I help them grow, learn, and bring them health and knowledge. I'm one of the founders of archery, along with my twin sister, Artemis. I protect from disease, pests, and predators. Keeping this in mind, I want you to ask yourself, why would I kill someone in this manner? Or kill someone at all? Thank you.
Thank you, Apollo. Jury, please keep your minds free of judgment and bias. We will now proceed with the trial. I would like to hear from our bailiff, Artemis. Then Athena, you have the floor.
Hello, Honorable Judge, distinguished lawyers and jury, siblings.
Good evening, sister. Good to see you on the other side of the courtroom.
I am Artemis, bailiff of this class. Despite my obvious relation to the defendant, I promise to remain fair and just to the case at hand. Athena, you may proceed.
Thank you, Zeus, and thank you, Artemis. First, I believe it's important to look at the facts of this case. A man was killed by an out-of-control discus. Fact. The force required to throw the discus with enough strength to kill a man is one that few can possess. Fact. Apollo possesses the strength capable. Fact. Apollo was at the scene of the crime. Fact. Apollo made a swift exit after the crime. Fact. Take a look at all these facts. Doesn't it seem a little too convenient? Well, I am sure that the defendant has many excuses to explain the timeline. I think you know better than that, jury. I think you're smarter than that. I think you know that justice needs to be served, and that someone has to pay for the crime committed against a poor, innocent man. I encourage you all to listen, to be critical, to think deeply, and most of all, to draw your own conclusions. And at the end of this case, I hope you will come to see the truth in this matter.
Thank you, Athena. Excellent opening statement.
Lovely, Athena. You paint an excellent narrative.
Aries, you may proceed.
Phenomenal start, Athena. I'd expect nothing else from a lawyer of your caliber. However, I cannot let you stand there and slander my client any further. What happened to Mr. Locke was a tragic accident, but an accident not at the hands of Apollo. Well, yes, Apollo is quite strong, but so is every other god, goddess, and demigod in Greece at this time. And yes, Apollo was competing in the Discus tournament that day, with so were hundreds of other contestants. And yes, Apollo was seen swiftly exiting the arena shortly after the announcement of the body had been announced. But so did everyone else. They were being evacuated for an investigation to begin. None of what you have said points directly towards my client in any shape or form, and it is a vast overstep.
I disagree. It took nearly an hour for the official statement from the tournament heads to reach the fairgrounds and the evacuation notice to be given. Yet Apollo, your client, was seen leaving the scene just 10 minutes after the body's discovery.
And who's to say he wasn't getting lunch?
There were several food carts on venue. There would have been no need to go off-site for lunch.
Fine, he could have been leaving to meet friends. It doesn't matter. His participation in the Discus throwing tournament was over, and that was the primary reason for him being there that day. When it was over, there was no need for him to stay.
Why don't we hear from Apollo themselves? This should clear up any questions regarding their presence at the festival. Apollo, go to the stand.
Of course, Your Honor.
Aries, you may begin.
Apollo, where were you at the top of the gym?
The annual city fair.
And were you there alone?
No, I went with two friends.
And these two friends are?
Civilians. Their names are Lyle and Lyre. They're twins who made my acquaintance when I taught how to use bow for last year's festival.
A bow. Now, what significance does a bow have to you?
Well, I am a founder of archery, so it is a major part of my status as a god. I teach it to the masses and brought it here for the use of the humans.
So Discus is not your future choice.
Not at all. I only recently started using one, just as a hobby.
And are you good?
Better than the average human, but nothing spectacular. Obviously, I have the strength for it behind it, but my aim and trajectory is nothing special. I can get it to go far, but likely couldn't land it in a basket if I were asked. Evidently, the bow is my preference, and my skill set lies. Also because they asked me to join, and I didn't have a reason not to.
So you're doing it for your friends?
Yes.
Do they know about this?
Not
Really? They encouraged me on entering because of my natural aptitude. But they didn't know I was entering so I could win them the prize. I was going to tell them that I didn't have a place for such a prize and give it to them as a gift so they wouldn't think that I selected them.
So would you see yourself as a genuinely caring person then?
I would like to think so.
Objection! This is irrelevant to the case.
Dismissed, but Aries, get to the relevant information.
Apologies, Your Honor. Now, Apollo, would you ever intentionally harm another being?
No, I would never think of hurting another person.
What about unintentionally?
If I were to unintentionally hurt someone, I would rush to their aid. I would never leave them to suffer.
Thank you, Apollo. That is all.
Athena, have you any questions for Apollo?
I have.
Continue.
Apollo, you were indeed competing in the discus tournament.
Yes, as I already said, I was competing.
And your final throw, that was when?
My final throw was at 2:15 in the afternoon.
2:15. And at what time was the body of Mr. Locke discovered?
I believe it was noon.
12:32 to be exact. Just 17 minutes after your throw. What does that tell you, Apollo?
Objection, Your Honor. This is a blatant question. Apollo can't simply make assumptions like that.
Athena, Apollo is on trial for this case, not here to solve it.
To me, Apollo, it would seem that 17 minutes is just enough time to throw the discus, realize you have hit your target, and then flee the scene before the body's discovery. At what time did you leave the fairgrounds, Apollo?
I left at 12:40.
And at what time was the evacuation order given?
I'm unsure. I believe it was around 1 p.m.
1:15.
My apologies. As I already said, I had left the grounds at that point.
And why was it that you had left?
I was going to get lunch.
Lunch? With who were you getting lunch?
The twins! I was planning on telling them my results from the discus tournament. I was far in the lead by my last throw. I figured I had to win in the bag.
And do you think the twins would corroborate that story?
I'd imagine so.
I would like to speak with them.
Apollo, you may return to your place. Lyle, I ask that you take the stand. Aries, you may begin.
Hello. Would you two please care to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Lyle.
I'm Lyle. And how long have you been in the acquaintance of Apollo?
We've known Apollo for nearly
2 years.
We met him when searching for an archery teacher to compete in a festival tournament. We have been friends ever since.
And would you say you're in close relation to Apollo?
Of course, besides my sibling, I would say that Apollo is one of the people I feel closest to.
I couldn't agree more. Apollo was an exceptionally close friend of ours.
Now, would you feel comfortable in giving us a judge of character of Apollo?
Certainly. Absolutely.
Could you do so for us now?
Of course. Apollo is a great friend.
Very caring, genuine.
Always looking out for us, making sure we were okay.
We kind of framed friendship at your door when you said you had a bad day. Did they give it food?
Apollo is sweet, soft, way more loving than you could ever imagine.
I once saw him shed a tear because he stepped on a frog.
That is true.
But they're strong.
Talented too.
You should see what they can do with a bow. It's incredible.
A masterpiece in motion.
A bow. Now, how would you say Apollo's skill with the discus is?
Well, no one goes their bow work.
It could use some work.
Plenty of strike.
But their aim is off.
They give a distance, that is for sure.
But they could never hit somebody intentionally.
Not a chance.
targeted.
Not a chance.
In the competition, what did it entail?
It was a distance throw. Everybody got free throws.
So it is reasonable to assume that Apollo would have won.
Absolutely. Apollo would have won without competition.
Now, after the competition, Apollo was to meet with you after for lunch, correct?
Definitely. After the first two throws, somehow the halves of the distance farther than humanly or maybe even godly possible. There was no way Apollo could lose. It only made sense to lead up to the announced victory.
Now, why did you three choose to venture off venue for lunch?
Well, you see, Wire has food allergies, so there weren't very many good options for him there. So we had to go to our favorite lunch spot.
And that is?
Mama's Pizza. It's a few minutes walk from the venue, but it has the best gluten-free pizza you can find.
And would someone there be able to vouch for your presence?
I imagine so. Fiona would probably. She knows us by name.
She said hello when we walked in as well.
Thank you, twins. Athena, you may commence.
Hello, twins. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
And yours as well.
So, Liar, you have a food allergy?
Ever since I was a child.
So you needed to go off venue for lunch.
The only thing they had on venue was roast potatoes. I wasn't in the mood.
And you believe that the owner of Mama's Pizzeria would vouch for your presence?
Certainly.
I see. Now, was Apollo acting any differently during this encounter?
No stranger than usual.
Just their usual self.
And what do you mean by that, Lyle?
Well, Apollo is a god. It's not every day you get to be such close friends with a god, especially as a mortal. And that comes with perks you don't necessarily understand.
Not to say Apollo is a weirdo, just that we don't understand what they're going through.
But on this day, was there anything off?
Don't think so. A bit more excited, maybe.
A bit antsy?
You could say that, but I would say more energetic.
And did Apollo seem like he was in a rush to get anywhere?
No, we chatted like normal. We even stayed longer after the bill was paid. There was no rushing anywhere.
See, and how long would you say you stayed there?
I believe the clock read 2:55 when we left.
See, you were there for quite a while then.
You could say that.
What did you do after you left?
Lotto and I returned to the farm, but I am unsure where Apollo went.
Aries, can you confirm where your client was during that time?
As they had said, from 3:10 to 3:40, Apollo went to the market, then went home.
So, he is unaccounted for after splitting from the group.
I suppose so, yes.
That is all, twins.
We will now call to the stand Miss Alana Cromwell, key witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Aries, you have the floor.
Hello, would you please care to introduce yourself?
Luana, I was sitting next to Mr. Locke.
Do you know what time it was, relatively, when Mr. Locke got up but didn't return?
I'm not sure.
You don't remember seeing a clock anywhere?
I was looking at a pretty bird.
A what?
A bird. It was red, perched right next to that guy, Mr. Locke, where he was sitting.
And you don't remember what time it was because?
I was looking at the bird, duh. It was real captivating, just clucking and preening.
Do you think you could tell us anything that might be relevant in any way?
Well, when Mr. Locke got up, he seemed to be in quite the rush. I just figured he needed to tinkle.
Do you think this is relevant because?
Who knows why he was in such a rush? Not me. Maybe he was scared of something. Or someone.
You think he was scared of someone in the stands?
Or heights. He looked a little green under the gills when he first saw a spot. I mean, you're nearly kissing the clouds, you were up so high.
Did Mr. Locke say anything to you before you got up and left?
Just the basics. Hi, I am, nice to meet you, yada yada yada.
Did he mention knowing anyone competing that day?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you, Alana.
Tina, you may begin with your questioning.
Alana, it is a pleasure.
Really? Really pretty.
Thank you. Now, you said that Mr. Locke did not mention knowing anyone at the competition. Did he mention his brother at all?
Brother? That doesn't ring any bells.
Maybe the name Pierre?
Yeah, that's more familiar. Pierre was mentioned.
Alright, and did he mention if Pierre was competing in anything?
Archery, I think.
Archery, yes, archery. He was indeed competing in the archery tournament. In fact, this was his third time in the archery competition. Did he mention that?
Yeah, we talked about it, and I said all things come in threes.
And did he say what placement Pierre had come in?
Second, I think.
That is correct. Second place. The only person to give Apollo a run for his money.
Right, because Apollo's like super good at archery. But his brother was also really good at archery. Best from out of town. Wanted to come here and beat him for the glory. That sort of thing. I told him to tell him to not look up to say hello to his brother because the sun would blind him. There's barely any clouds in the sky that day. Except for one, and it looked like a rabbit skiing. It was fluffy.
Right. Now, did there seem to be a rivalry, any animosity between the two?
He seemed happy, cheerful even. I think he expected his brother to win. Definitely didn't expect to die.
I imagine not.
You know, I just think this was an accident. Mr. Locke was a real nice fellow, a stand-up guy. Wouldn't have caused nobody no problems. I don't think anyone would target him, unless they saw what he did to his corn dog. He dipped it in honey.
Thank you, Alana. That will be all.
One last thing. Before Mr. Locke got up,
He said that he had a bad feeling. Or that he was feeling bad. I don't quite remember. But he didn't seem too happy.
Thank you.
Alana, you may leave the stand.
Thank you, Zeus. Oh, I mean, Your Honor.
Aries, you may draw your next witness.
I would like to call to stand Goddess Syria.
Continue.
Satyria, please join us up here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Now, Satira, it is my understanding that you're the head of the safety board for this year's festival, correct?
Yes, it's a position I've held for the past 10 years.
So you're well acquainted with what goes on to running a festival then.
Very. I take my job very seriously.
And I'm supposed you make sure everything's safe.
Yes, it's as safe as it can be. Everything from the walking paths to the food carts to the stand are meticulously chosen and inspected for the safety of our guests.
As I would expect from the goddess of safety, protection, and salvation.
It is what I'm known for.
Now, have you ever experienced something of this magnitude at one of your festivals before?
Never. I couldn't have fathomed it.
Have there ever been any injuries?
Nothing major. A twisted ankle during a long jump a few years ago, and a broken arm when a competitor fell off his chariot during the chariot races.
But never a death.
Never. Like I said, I take great pride in running an exceptionally safe festival.
Even for competitors?
Especially for competitors. Competing at such a high level is dangerous all on its own, so precaution is of the utmost importance.
And do you take into account personal records and relations?
What do you mean by that?
Well, a person's personal best would tell you how long to make a field of court, whether you need nets or not, that sort of thing. Relations between competitors could tell you how they act on and off the pitch.
I see. We typically focus more on ensuring safety for whatever the highest score was the previous year. If the longest jump was 8 meters, making the jumping field 30 meters long just doesn't make sense. In terms of relations between competitors, it's hard for us to know what's going on behind the scenes. What we do to avoid any confrontation is provide many different locker rooms to change in. That way, if a competitor wishes to avoid each other, they can.
I see.
Thank you, Soteria. Soteria, what precautions were in place for the throwing-based competitions?
A mesh was built around all of the seating structures to ensure a flyaway ball, discus, javelin, or what have you would not strike a viewer.
Right, and how high was that mesh?
Sorry?
The mesh, did it stem above the seating?
Yes, by a few meters.
So someone could, in theory, throw above it.
I mean, they would need exceptional force and strength.
Like that of a god.
Now, Athena, you cannot instigate our witness.
I was not.
Listen to the judge, Athena. Aries, you may proceed.
I would like to call in another witness.
Continue.
I'd like to call Pierre Luck to the stand.
Is this really advisable?
Quiet, Artemis.
No, but seriously, calling the guy that was his competition to the stage, this seems really counterproductive.
Just go with it. Hello, would you please care to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pierre Locke, second archer national competitor and teacher. I'm also the brother of the deceased.
I'm extremely sorry for your loss, Pierre.
Thank you.
Now, how would you describe your relationship with your brother?
Tumultuous. That would be a great way to describe it.
How so?
Jean and I had trouble. He was always jealous of my size, my ability, the ladies that flocked to me. It was not easy for him. He was not, shall we say, classically handsome. That created tension for us.
Now, did he support your craft as an archer?
Yes and no. I think he was proud of me. He was thankful someone brought notoriety to our family name. He had a business, you see. When I started gaining fame, people flocked there, hoping for the chance to meet me. But he was also jealous. He was also jealous. People were not coming for him, for his food. They wanted me. He always wanted that.
And did that anger him?
Yes, we fought viciously about it.
How? So, you wouldn't expect him to join you at the festival?
Not exactly.
Pierre.
Pierre, first of all, I would like to say that I am sorry for your loss. Losing a sibling is a terrible thing.
Yes, thank you.
Sometimes I wish mine would get lost. Now, despite the nature of your relationship with Jean, is it out of the realm of possibility that he would come to visit you?
No, he did like to keep the public fast regarding our name. He wanted everyone to think that we were the best of friends. It looked better that way.
Do you wish things could have been different?
What do you mean?
Different. Your relationship is strange. Do you wish it hadn't been?
Yes, of course. I mean, he was my brother. When we were younger, before I got taller and ladies started paying me more attention, we were inseparable, thick and thin. We were the best of friends. It would be lovely to continue like that.
But it was for nothing.
Unfortunately, Jean created a lot of tension we had on his head. I never saw him as a competition. I never thought we had it out for each other.
No?
No. I wanted nothing more than to have a brother I grew up with back. This is why I tried to include myself, why I did all that I wanted. I wanted him to see I was making an effort. I hope he will watch out.
And did he?
Oh, never. Or anything was not a favor.
You wanted your sibling back?
Yes, every day.
Thank you, Pierre.
We will now proceed with the case. Aries, you may begin.
So there's a relative possibility that the brother of Pierre was targeted, but judging from what we heard from Lion Lyre, it is unlikely a targeted attack would have been possible for Apollo. While it is just as likely that someone exterior to the competition or someone competing could have attacked Mr. Locke. Jury, I advise you to think critically of this argument, because as it stands right now, you're capable of sending an innocent god to jail.
Aries, while I appreciate your argument, I think you're missing a very important fact here. There was quite nearly a mortal being who could stand toe-to-toe with Apollo at the very thing he brought to the mortal realm to begin with. Would that not be damaging to your client's pride? Would that not fill him with rage? I think it is a vast oversight to ignore that.
So you're suggesting that he was angry that Pierre could beat him in a battle of archery? Theoretically, then why target Jean? Why not target Pierre directly?
Would you continue with the competition if you knew that your brother had just died hours earlier?
The competition was cancelled because of the discovery of the body.
Well, the body wasn't hidden very well. Had it been hidden better, the competition would have continued.
It wasn't hidden at all. It was found behind the shed. Why would someone try and get away with murder, hide a body out in the open?
Well, maybe they wanted it to be found, like a warning to anyone who would consider going up against Apollo in the future.
Again, if it was a warning, why not target Pierre directly? Why target his brother?
It wasn't meant as a warning to the average festival goer. It was meant as a warning to any future participants.
You're suggesting that Apollo was trying to make a statement that if anyone ever tried to cross him, he would harm their family?
Yes, that is exactly it.
I think you're wrong.
I think I'm right.
I don't think you are.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Because I think that Apollo killed him, and I will prove it.
I highly doubt you will.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Well, let's find out.
Oh, good.
All right. Because I will continue this until someone tells me to stop, whether it be Zeus or whether it is Apollo confessing to the murder.
Can we get back on topic, please?
My apologies, Your Honor. Nothing left to say.
I love you! Yeah!
Can we have some order in this court, please?
Excuse me. I have something that needs to be brought to the attention of the courthouse. Ladies, what are you doing here? Zeus, mean your honor, I don't normally intrude like this, but I have a very important piece of information. What is it, ladies?
A witness. Someone who saw the moment Jean-Luc died.
It is not normal for last-minute evidence to be presented like this.
This courtroom is a circus today.
I say we let them speak. We might as well.
Aries, what say you?
Apollo, are you comfortable with this
specimen evidence?
I know I'm innocent. If they'll prove what I already know, I say let them speak.
In that case, Hades, continue.
I call to the stand Lorianne Harkness.
That is not your job, Hades. Do not get too comfortable.
Watch it. Would you like to say it then?
No. No.
Lorraine, please continue. Now, Lorraine, what was it that brought you to the festival?
Hello, I'm Lorraine Agnes, and yeah, I was at the festival, the same as everyone else. I want to see friends, festival food, the occasional picnic. I put on my shelf and never look at it again.
Now, did you know the deceased?
No, I did not.
But you saw that he had been hit.
I wasn't aware that he had died until later, but yes, I was there when he was struck.
Now, did you draw attention to the fact that he had been hit?
I assume not. That's why it took me so long to come forward.
Was anyone else aware that he had been hit when you were at the house?
I went to get help, but all the health professionals were at the playing field. In case a competitor got injured, so the fair way to run.
So nobody knew he died.
I assume not. That's why it took so long that somebody had seen him.
Thank you, Lorraine.
You're welcome.
Lorraine, would you mind giving us a rundown of the events that transpired? Please, if you could, include times.
Of course. At 10 a.m., I arrived at the festival with my friends. They wanted to see the jazz, so I accompanied them. We stayed at the jazz site until 11. After 11, maybe around 11:30, we were getting hungry, so we went to the food area. I got my food from the pizza cart at 11:45. Then we sat down at the park bench back to the arena, and we chatted and were sitting there and eating. I saw the victim pass by, and I thought it was odd the way he entered the arena. I wasn't sure where he had come from. And then at 12:16, I saw him on the ground bleeding, and I went to find help right after.
Did you say 12:16?
Yes,
And how certain of that time are you?
very.
Would you say you're entirely certain?
Apollo, innocent.
I'm nearly entirely sure.
Aries, I think
Nearly entirely, but how entirely?
95%.
And what about the other 5%?
Aries, your turn is up. Quit harassing a witness.
Aries, quit your aggressing. Sorry. And you went to get help, is that correct?
Yes.
Aries, my left throw went out of the pitch.
So, I'm so sorry about that, Lorraine. 95% certain was very good.
I told you, he did it!
Aries, I think I might have done it. I didn't mean to.
And what else did you see, if anything?
There was a crowd crowding around the man. I sent them urgent help, and I gave them some space.
And did you see anything after that?
Yes, please tell us what you did see.
I saw blood! So much blood! He was laying on the ground!
It's okay. You're clean.
He was colored and bleeding, and it was gross. I had to look red!
Did you see where? Keep going, keep going.
And then there was so much blood, and I couldn't help anything.
Aries, where is Apollo?
Apollo?
Where did he go?
No.
Someone, anybody, block the exit and find that criminal! Now!
Isn't it amazing what can be accomplished in 2 weeks? That was awesome! Great job! We are now going to take a quick intermission. Like 10 minutes is what we're looking at, just to change gears. If you need to go to the washroom, the nearest ones are just through the lobby and right there across from the classrooms. And we are going to pick up again in about 10 minutes. Thank you. That was awesome. Did you?